Welcome aboard Podcast Cruise, where every episode is a voyage into the unknown. Join us as we explore the depths of mystics, mediums, and the metaphysical. From extraordinary near-death experiences to the secrets of the universe, we uncover the mysteries that leave you questioning reality. No faces, no frills, just captivating stories and profound insights to stir your soul. So grab your favorite beverage or set your cruise control to the legal speed limit and journey with us beyond the veil, one episode at a time. Let's welcome our hosts, Jake Hart and Zara Moon, as they dive into captivating discussions and the mysteries that shape our world. You are listening to Podcast Cruise.
Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we are going to be looking at some predictions for the future.
Predictions are interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these predictions come from a YouTube channel called
Tucker.
And Tucker, that's right.
Yes.
And
A spiritual channel.
a spiritual channel.
Yeah.
So if you're not into the spiritual stuff, you can probably tune out now. But I think...
But maybe not.
Yeah.
Because if she's got a track record of predicting things that have already happened accurately.
Yeah. And she has the supply chain issues that we had a couple years ago.
Yeah. Banking crises.
Banking crises.
A lot of people were skeptical.
Yeah.
And but yet she called it.
She called it.
So it makes you wonder what else she might be seeing.
So with an open mind, let's dive into some of these predictions.
All right.
One of the first things I want to talk about was she talked about an earth rift. And this is something that is...
It's kind of hard to imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine.
Yeah.
So she's predicting that there's going to be this massive rift forming, likely in the Indian Ocean, and causing this explosion.
It'll be audible worldwide.
Audible worldwide.
That's what she said.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine that?
Hard to even comprehend.
I mean, that would be, what an event that would be.
Yeah, how loud would that have to be?
Yeah, and she's saying that it would be the earth purging negativity.
Yes, purging anger.
Fear. So it's almost like the earth is going through its own...
healing process.
Yeah.
You know, we're going through a healing process individually. Maybe the earth's going through a healing process.
On a larger scale.
Yeah.
Right? So this event would release a toxic gas cloud.
Yes. And she said it would move up towards the Middle East.
So if it reaches your area,
you're
supposed to stay indoors.
Yeah.
Seal your windows.
Yeah.
Seal your doors.
Right.
And
very important.
Yeah. And she talks about having clean water.
Yes.
Readily available.
So this is interesting because she talks about increased flooding as well as a result of these earth changes.
Interesting.
So clean water is going to be important on multiple levels.
So it seems like one of the themes running through these predictions is preparation.
Yes, definitely.
Like it's not just about...
It's not about freaking people out.
Yeah.
It's about giving them...
information.
Yeah.
To get ready.
Take practical steps to navigate these changes.
Right. So it's kind of like, hey, this is what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
This is what you can do.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's not just physical preparation, too. It's spiritual preparation and raising your vibration.
Yeah.
But we'll dive into that a little bit later.
We'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah. But then she moves on to this global kind of unraveling.
Yeah.
Talks about this major unraveling of these global power structures.
She sees major economic turmoil in the United States.
Chaos around leadership, potentially even a separation of states.
Like not through civil war, but just like this...
not civil war.
Natural division.
More of a secession type of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that this is going to be a catalyst for a chain reaction globally.
Domino effect.
Yeah.
She sees China taking the opportunity to assert dominance over Taiwan.
Right.
And then Japan rallying international opposition against China.
It's almost like this whole world power structure just completely shifts.
It's a reshaping of the world as we know it.
Yeah, so far this is all sounding pretty intense.
Yeah.
And frankly, a little unsettling.
Yeah.
But then she introduces this idea of a flash of light.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where things start to get...
this is where it gets really interesting.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
So imagine a sudden burst of solar energy.
That impacts every single person on the planet.
Wow.
And elevates human consciousness to a new level.
That sounds hopeful.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah. So tell me more about this flash of light. Like, what will it feel like?
Well, she describes it as harmless and even beneficial.
Okay.
It's going to be a catalyst for profound and immediate change.
Okay, so what kind of changes?
Heightened senses, the ability to communicate telepathically,
Wow.
an explosion of empathy.
Okay.
Even a shift from a karmic to a more dharmic reality.
Okay, now hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I fully understand what those
Yeah.
terms mean.
Okay, so think of it this way. Karma is often associated with this idea that our actions have consequences.
Right.
We experience the effects of our past choices.
Good and bad.
Good and bad, exactly. It's a cycle of cause and effect.
Right.
It can feel like we're stuck in these repetitive patterns.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
So then what is dharma?
Dharma is about aligning with your true purpose.
Okay.
Living in a state of flow and ease where your actions are in harmony with the universe.
So instead of life being this constant struggle,
Right.
it's more about...
Finding your place, expressing your unique gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Ann Tucker suggests that this shift from karmic to dharmic existence will be a key outcome of this flash of light.
Okay, so after this flash of light hits,
Yeah.
what does the world look like?
Well, she paints a picture of a world where we can heal instantly,
Wow.
create effortlessly, and act as true stewards of the earth.
So humanity is kind of stepping into its...
Full potential.
Yeah.
Living in greater harmony with each other and with the planet.
That sounds amazing.
Right.
But I'm guessing it doesn't happen overnight.
No, she's very clear that this transition won't be without its difficulties.
Okay.
There will be loss of life, fear, uncertainty as humanity grapples with these massive changes.
So even with this flash of light kind of leading us towards a more positive future, there's still going to be some...
There's going to be a period of adjustment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And potentially suffering.
Yes, and that's where she emphasizes the importance of personal responsibility and raising your vibration.
And she believes that those who maintain a high vibration will be able to
navigate these changes more smoothly. Yes.
So it's like, yes, there will be challenges, but how you respond to them will determine your experience.
Exactly. And she's quite specific about the kind of losses she anticipates.
Okay.
She predicts that those who lose their lives during this transition will do so without physical trauma.
Okay.
And will experience an elevation in frequency.
So not an ending, but a transition to a...
spiritual advancement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got these earth changes, we've got global power shifts, and then a flash of light leading to this new era for humanity.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But I have to ask, when is all of this supposed to happen?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, she started receiving these messages back in 2020. And she points out that a lot of her predictions, like the supply chain issues and the banking crisis, have already come to pass.
So we're not talking about something that's like way out there.
This is potentially happening in our lifetime.
Yeah, maybe even sooner than we think.
She believes the next 2 years are critical.
Wow.
And she sees the possibility of this flash of light occurring before the end of 2026.
That's not that far off.
Yeah.
So if we're potentially on the brink of such massive change, what does she recommend we do to prepare?
Okay, well, besides the practical steps we already discussed.
Like what?
Like purifying water.
Right.
Having some cash reserves on hand.
Okay.
She emphasizes the importance of building local networks and skills.
So becoming more...
self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient, yeah.
Less reliant on those global...
systems
that she sees as crumbling.
Right. Yeah. Connecting with your community.
Yeah.
Learning practical skills.
Yeah.
Becoming more resilient in the face of potential disruptions. And, of course, that recurring theme.
Yes.
Focusing on personal growth.
Raising your vibration.
Raising your vibration.
Yeah.
Cultivating love. Gratitude, inner peace.
Yes. She believes that by doing so, we can not only navigate the coming changes more smoothly, but also contribute to creating a more positive future for humanity.
It's like she's saying, yes, the world is changing, but you have the power to choose how you respond.
Exactly.
And what you contribute to this new reality.
Yeah, it's a powerful message that emphasizes personal responsibility and the potential for collective transformation.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into Ann Tucker's predictions.
We did.
From earth changes and global power shifts through a flash of light and a new era for humanity.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
We'll be back shortly to continue our deep dive into the future.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the predictions of Ann Tucker. We just explored some pretty major events she foresees for humanity and our planet.
Yeah, we covered Earth changes, global power shift, and even a flash of light that could transform human consciousness. It's a lot to wrap our heads around.
It certainly is. And as we move forward, it's important to remember that these are just predictions. They're not guarantees or absolutes.
Right. It's not about blindly accepting everything, and Tucker says, but rather using these predictions as a framework for reflection and maybe even preparation.
Exactly. And one of the key themes that runs throughout N. Tucker's message is this idea of raising your vibration. It's a concept that might sound kind of esoteric, but it's actually quite practical.
So what exactly does it mean to raise your vibration?
Think of it as cultivating a state of inner peace, love, and positivity. It's about becoming more conscious of your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and choosing those that align with a higher frequency.
So it's not just about what's happening externally, it's about our internal state of being.
Precisely. And Ann Tucker believes that this internal state is crucial for navigating the changes she foresees. She suggests that those who maintain a high vibration will be able to weather the storms more easily and even contribute to a more positive outcome for humanity.
Okay, so how do we actually raise our vibration? What are some concrete steps?
And Tucker recommends several practices, starting with cultivating gratitude. It's about shifting your focus from what you lack to what you have, appreciating the good in your life, even amidst challenges.
So things like keeping a gratitude journal, expressing thanks before meals, just taking a few moments each day to appreciate the beauty around them.
Exactly. It's about training your mind to look for the positive, even when things feel difficult.
And what about when we're faced with fear or uncertainty? How do we maintain a high vibration in those moments?
That's where the practice of choosing love over fear comes in. It's not about denying or suppressing fear, but rather about recognizing it, acknowledging it, and then consciously choosing to respond with love and compassion.
So it's about shifting our perspective from a place of fear to a place of love.
Exactly. And this can be a real challenge, especially when we're facing situations that trigger those deepest fears. But Ann Tucker believes that cultivating this ability to choose love is essential for navigating these coming changes with grace and resilience.
So it's not about pretending everything is okay, but about finding that inner strength and choosing to respond from a place of love even when things are tough.
Precisely. And she also recommends practices like meditation mindfulness or spending time in nature to connect with that inner peace and stillness.
It's interesting how she blends these practical everyday actions with these more spiritual practices.
Yeah, she sees them as interconnected and equally important. Taking care of both our physical and spiritual well-being is crucial for navigating these times.
Okay, so we've talked about raising our vibration and cultivating inner peace. But what about the practical side of things? And Tucker also predicts disruptions to global systems leading to potential shortages, difficulties accessing certain goods.
That's right. And this is where she emphasizes the importance of building those local networks and skills, learning to grow some of your own food, connecting with local farmers, developing basic repair skills. These are all things that could become incredibly valuable.
So it's about becoming more self-sufficient and resilient.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual survival. It's also about fostering a sense of community and mutual support.
Reaching out to neighbors, getting to know them, understanding their skills and resources.
Yes. It's about creating a web of support where we can rely on each other rather than solely on large corporations or global supply chains.
It's a beautiful vision, really.
Yeah.
A world where we're more connected to our communities and to the earth itself.
And perhaps these predictions, whether they manifest exactly as Ann Tucker describes or not, can serve as a catalyst for us to start creating that world right now.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, from earth changes and global shifts to the importance of raising our vibration and building local resilience. But I'm sure some of our listeners are wondering how to approach these predictions with a healthy dose of skepticism.
That's a great point. It's important to remember that these are just predictions and they may not come to pass exactly as described.
Right. We don't want to fall into fear-mongering or blind belief.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't want to just dismiss these predictions entirely either.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between skepticism and openness, recognizing that the future is uncertain and there are multiple possibilities.
So how do we find that balance? How do we approach these predictions in a way that is both discerning and empowering?
I think it starts with recognizing that we have a choice in how we respond to these predictions. We can choose to be consumed by fear, or we can choose to use this information as an opportunity for growth and transformation.
So instead of feeling paralyzed by fear, we can use these predictions as a catalyst for positive change.
Exactly. And it's also important to remember that Sonny Tucker's predictions are just one perspective. There are many other perspectives out there, and it's important to explore those as well.
So research different viewpoints, gather information, form our own conclusions.
Yes, it's about becoming informed critical thinkers rather than passively accepting any one perspective.
So we can use Ann Tucker's predictions as a starting point for our own exploration of the future.
Exactly. And even if some of these predictions don't come to pass, the process of reflection and preparation can still be incredibly valuable.
It's about becoming more conscious, more aware, more connected to ourselves, to each other, and to the planet.
And that's a journey that can benefit us regardless of what the future holds.
Well said. We've talked about raising our vibration, building local resilience, and approaching these predictions with a healthy dose of skepticism. But I'm curious, what are your personal thoughts on all of this? How do these predictions resonate with you?
For me, it's not so much about whether every detail will come true, but rather about that overarching message of transformation and the potential for a more conscious and interconnected future.
Seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. And for me, that's a message of hope, even amidst the potential challenges.
I appreciate that perspective. It's easy to get caught up in the dramatic aspects of these predictions. But it's important to remember there's also a lot of potential for positive change.
Absolutely. And I think that's what Ann Tucker is ultimately trying to convey. She's not just predicting doom and gloom, but also offering a vision of a brighter future, a future that we can all contribute to creating.
Well said. And that brings us to the question of how we can prepare ourselves, both practically and spiritually, for this potential future.
That's a great point, and a topic that we'll delve into in more detail in our next segment. We'll explore specific actions we can take to align ourselves with the vision Ann Tucker presents and create a life that is more resilient, more fulfilling, more connected to our true purpose.
Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive into Ann Tucker's predictions. Welcome back to our final segment, exploring Ann Tucker's predictions about the future.
Yeah.
And we've covered a lot of ground in the previous two segments.
Yeah. Earth changes.
One of those Earth changes.
The global power shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that potential shift in human consciousness.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
I mean,
But now in this final segment,
right.
I think it would be good to shift our focus to action.
Yes.
Like, what can we actually do to prepare ourselves for these potential changes?
Actionable steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ann Tucker actually provides some recommendations.
Yeah, she does.
Both practical
Right.
and spiritual.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's start with the practical side.
Right.
She talks about potential disruptions to these global systems.
Oh, yeah.
You know, things that we've come to rely on. So
Right.
leading to shortages and economic instability. What can we do to prepare for that?
Well, one of her key recommendations is to become more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And this means learning practical skills
Okay.
like gardening,
Okay.
basic repairs, and food preservation.
So reducing our reliance on these large corporations,
Exactly.
on those global supply chains, and becoming more resilient at a local level.
Yes. And she also emphasizes the importance of building strong community networks, connecting with your neighbors, sharing resources, supporting local businesses,
It's about moving away from that mindset.
individualism,
Yeah.
and embracing a more collaborative and interconnected way of life.
Right.
And she also recommends having some cash reserves on hand.
Right. In case those banks,
Exactly, in
Yeah.
case of banking disruptions
Yeah.
or economic instability.
it's all about having a backup plan,
It is.
being prepared for those unexpected events.
Yes, be prepared.
Okay, so we talked about the practical steps,
Yes.
but she also talks about
Spiritual preparation.
spiritual preparation.
Yes.
And she calls this raising your vibration.
Yes.
And we touched on this earlier,
We did.
but I think it would be good to kind of delve a little bit deeper.
Right.
So how do we actually raise our vibration?
Okay, well, it starts with cultivating a daily practice of gratitude. And this could involve keeping a gratitude journal, expressing thanks before meals, or simply taking a few moments each day to appreciate the good in your life.
It's about shifting our focus from what's wrong
Exactly.
to what's right,
Yes.
and training our minds to look for the positive.
Yes, very important.
Okay, and what about when we're faced with those challenges or uncertainty?
Right.
How do we respond then?
Well, it's about consciously choosing love over fear.
Okay,
So when we're faced with challenges or uncertainty,
yeah.
we can choose to respond with love.
Okay.
compassion and understanding rather than getting swept away by that fear and anxiety.
So it's recognizing that fear is a natural human emotion,
It is.
but it doesn't have to control our actions
Right.
or dictate our reality.
Exactly. And Tucker also recommends practices like meditation,
Yeah.
mindfulness, or spending time in nature
Oh,
to connect with that inner peace and stillness.
It's about creating space for quiet reflection
It is.
and nurturing our spiritual well-being.
Exactly. And these practices can help us to become more centered, more grounded,
Yeah.
more resilient in the face of change.
So it's this holistic approach,
It is.
taking care of our physical and our spiritual needs.
Yes, mind, body, and spirit.
So how does all of this connect to
Right.
the dramatic predictions that Ann Tucker has made
Yeah.
about the Earth changes and the potential shift in human consciousness?
That's a great question.
Like, how does inner work
Yeah.
relate to those larger events?
Well, Ann Tucker suggests that our individual vibration,
Okay.
our inner state of being, actually contributes to the collective consciousness.
So the more of us who cultivate love,
Yes.
gratitude,
Gratitude.
inner peace,
Yeah.
the more we raise the overall vibration of humanity.
Exactly.
Wow. So in a way, we're not just preparing for the future,
Right.
we're actively co-creating it.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And it highlights the importance of taking personal responsibility for our thoughts, our feelings, our actions.
Because ultimately, the future is not something that happens to us. It's something we create together.
It is.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Ann Tucker's predictions,
Yes.
I think it'd be good to leave our listeners with a few key takeaways.
All right.
First, it's important to remember that these are just predictions,
Predictions.
not guarantees.
Right.
They offer one possible future,
Yes.
but the future is ultimately fluid
It is.
and shaped by our collective choices.
Yes.
Second, we encourage you to approach these predictions with that healthy dose of skepticism,
Mm-hmm.
but also with an open mind.
Yes.
Do your own research.
Explore different perspectives.
Explore those different perspectives, form your own conclusions.
Yes. Very important.
And finally, remember that you have the power to choose how you respond
You do.
to these predictions.
Absolutely.
You can choose fear
Or love.
or you can choose love.
Apathy or action.
You can choose apathy or you can choose action.
Yes.
The future is in your hands.
It is. So what will you choose?
Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for cruising with us on Podcast Cruise. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us bring you more intriguing and thought-provoking podcasts. Stay curious, and we'll see you on the next adventure.